Oh look, she's doing her limp act again. Someone get her an Oscar. My sister sneered loudly enough for every relative in the room to hear. My aunt chuckled. My cousin whispered, she just wants sympathy. And before I could even tighten my grip, my sister yanked the cane from my hand and snapped. Stop faking it, you're just leeching. The room burst into laughter like my pain was some cheap party entertainment. For a second, everything inside me went quiet. Not the silence of shock, but the silence of a woman who has already suffered too much to react. I felt the cold marble floor rushing toward me before my knees even hit it. And still, the laughter continued. I took a breath, steadying the shaking in my hands, and spoke softly inside my own mind. Don't cry. Not here. Not for them. Hi everyone. My name is Marissa Hale, I'm 31. And before this humiliating fall in front of 50 relatives, I kept asking myself one question. How many times can a family break you before you finally break away? It's strange, isn't it? How the people who caused your deepest wounds are always the ones who swear they love you the most. I lay there on the floor, heat rising up my neck, my dress wrinkled, my palms burning. My sister stood above me holding my cane like a trophy. My dad shook his head in disappointment. At me, not her. My mom folded her arms, muttering, drama again. She wants attention. The cane clattered as my sister tossed it onto a table. Stand up normally for once, she said loudly. Someone laughed again. The chandelier above blurred as my vision pooled with tears I refused to let fall. Then a shift. A shadow moved behind my relatives. A pair of slow, deliberate footsteps. And a voice I recognized instantly. My surgeon. The only man who knew exactly what was happening inside my spine. The only person who'd seen the MRI, the fractures, the surgeries, the truth. He stepped forward through the crowd, each footstep slicing the laughter in half. His expression was cold, controlled, almost surgical. He placed a firm hand on my sister's shoulder. The entire room went still. And then he spoke 6 words. 6 words that froze my sister mid-breath. 6 words that drained the color from every face in the room. She wasn't supposed to be walking. The air shattered. The room didn't just fall silent. It collapsed into a hush so sharp it felt like the air itself was trembling. My sister's fingers loosened around the cane. My dad blinked, confused. My aunt muttered something under her breath, suddenly unsure of herself. My surgeon stepped between me and my sister, positioning himself like a shield. His voice stayed calm, professional, but there was a razor edge beneath every word. She's walking because she pushed past limits most patients never reach. And you. He looked directly at my sister. You just risked undoing months of recovery. The shame on her face flickered, but only for a second before she attempted to mask it with a weak laugh. It's not that serious, she said, shrugging. Everyone knows she exaggerates. She has 3 spinal fractures. His tone sliced clean through her sentence. 3. And she wasn't medically cleared to stand without support yet. What you did could have paralyzed her. Permanently. You could feel the guilt crawl across the walls. Relatives looked away, suddenly fascinated with the floor, the plates, the candles, anything but me. I pushed myself up slowly, my palms trembling. The marble was cold beneath my skin. My sister didn't offer a hand. No one did. I steadied myself on the edge of the table, breathing through the pain stabbing up my back. My surgeon tried to help, but I shook my head. I needed to stand on my own. For the first time I looked directly at my sister. Her eyes darted away, then back, unsure. Good. She wasn't used to seeing me standing this tall, even while half-broken. I said quietly, you always hated my weakness. You're not ready for my strength. A tremor moved across her face. But she still didn't know what was coming. Because the real betrayal hadn't even happened yet. My sister's mouth tightened the way it always did when she felt cornered. But instead of apologizing, or even stepping back, she folded her arms and said loudly, well, if she's that fragile, maybe she shouldn't be out here pretending to be normal. It's Dad's birthday, not her pity parade. A few relatives nodded, desperate to align themselves with whoever seemed strongest in the moment. Typical. Family loyalty, but only when it's convenient. My surgeon exhaled sharply. That's enough, he said. But I raised a hand, stopping him. No, I whispered. Let her speak. Because every word she spat only revealed who she truly was. My dad finally stepped in, voice heavy with disappointment. Marissa, couldn't you have waited to make a scene? Today was supposed to be peaceful. I stared at him, stunned. The scene. I had literally been thrown to the floor and I was the one ruining the night? My mom chimed in. You're always causing tension. Your sister is just stressed. You know how emotional she gets. I swallowed hard. The pain in my back was nothing compared to the throb in my chest. Funny how the ones who hurt you most always get the biggest blanket of excuses. My sister smirked. There. Even they know you're being dramatic. Something inside me shifted then, not anger, not sadness. Something colder. Understanding. They weren't misunderstanding me. They weren't confused. They weren't misinformed. They chose to see me as weak because it made it easier to step over me. And I had allowed it for far too long. I straightened my back despite the pain and said quietly, "You're right. Tonight isn't about me." A few relatives relaxed, thinking I was backing down. But starting tomorrow, I continued, my life won't revolve around protecting any of you. The room tensed again. And my sister's smirk faded, just slightly. She didn't know yet. I was done protecting her biggest secret. My sister froze like she'd heard something no one else caught. A single flicker, fear, recognition, something, passed across her face before she shoved it down and forced a laugh. "Please," she scoffed, waving her hand. "What secret? Marissa can barely keep herself upright, let alone hold something over me." But she knew. Oh, she knew exactly what I meant. My surgeon helped ease me into a chair, but my sister stepped forward, blocking his path. "Oh, don't baby her," she snapped. "She's milking this for sympathy. Always has." Her voice grew louder, trying to drown out the panic rising behind her eyes. "Let's not pretend she's this tragic hero. She's been a burden for years. Dad paid for her treatments, her therapy, her rent." I slowly lifted my chin. "Paid?" I asked quietly. "You're sure about that?" My dad stiffened. My mom's face paled. Because the lie my sister loved the most, that they had carried me, was about to unravel. I looked at my parents first. "Before I say anything else, tell me, how much have you actually spent on me these last 3 years?" My mom opened her mouth, closed it. My dad glanced at my sister, waiting for her signal like he always did. My sister stepped closer, practically spitting the words. "They paid everything. You know they did." I held her gaze. "Funny. My medical bills were emailed to me. My therapist's portal logs my payments. And my rent? Auto-debited from my account every month." I paused. "So again, Dad. Mom, how much did you pay?" Silence. Thick, choking silence. My sister's face twitched. Because she knew what came next. The truth she prayed I would never say aloud. I leaned forward slightly. Should I tell them who really drained their money? My sister's breath hitched. And the room braced itself. My sister's smile trembled at the edges. The first real crack in her armor. She stepped back half an inch, barely noticeable unless you were watching her the way I was. The way someone watches a storm finally realize it's about to be exposed. "Don't start," she hissed quietly, hoping no one else heard. But they did. Everyone did. I straightened slowly in my chair. 3 years, I said softly. 3 years of surgeries, therapy, mobility training, all paid from my own savings. Every bill. Every session. Every medication. My dad frowned. "That can't be right. We transferred." "You transferred money," I cut in gently. "Yes. But not to me." Eyes turned, fully, sharply, toward the only person who suddenly couldn't look up from the floor. My sister. Her chest rose and fell faster. Her fingers dug into her own sleeve. "Tell them," I whispered. "Tell them where the money went." She shook her head. "Marissa, stop." "Or should I?" I continued. "Should I tell them myself? The shopping sprees? The vacations? The emergencies that somehow always aligned with new handbags? How you used Dad's birthday transfer, the one meant for my physical therapy, on a weekend getaway with your boyfriend." My mom gasped. My dad's face drained of color. My sister exploded. "You don't know anything. You were too busy playing the victim too." My surgeon cut in sharply. "She's not playing anything. And frankly, if the money intended for her rehabilitation was misused, that's not just irresponsible, it's dangerous." The room turned into a pressure cooker. My sister looked around wildly, desperately searching for someone, anyone who would defend her. But for the first time no one moved. I leaned back, voice calm, almost eerily steady. And that's not even the worst part. Her head snapped toward me. Because I wasn't done. He had no idea what else I knew. My sister's throat bobbed as she swallowed hard, panic tightening every muscle in her face. She tried to speak, but the words tangled behind her teeth. What are you talking about?" she finally whispered. I didn't answer immediately. Instead, I let the silence stretch, heavy, suffocating, until even the relatives who once laughed at me were now gripping their chairs. My surgeon stood beside me like an anchor, steady and unmoving. I folded my hands in my lap. "Let's talk about the night before my surgery," I said softly. "The night my doctor called to confirm I was cleared. The night my sister told me she'd drive me to the hospital." My sister flinched. Gasps moved through the room like a slow wave. "You remember?" I asked her. "The night you never showed up?" Her lips parted, but no sound came. I continued, calm and sharp. "I called you 13 times. You ignored everyone. You knew I couldn't walk on my own. You knew I couldn't call a cab at 4 a.m. And still, you vanished." She shook her head, whispering, "Don't." But I wasn't finished. "Dad, Mom," I said softly. "Do you know who actually drove me? Who carried me inside because I couldn't make it from the curb to the door?" My parents stared blankly. "Pie surgeon." I nodded toward him. "He left his own home at 3:30 a.m. because your daughter, your golden one, disappeared without a word." The shame hit the walls like thunder. My sister's voice cracked. I had an emergency." "Oh yes," I said quietly, "you did." I held her gaze. "A date. At a rooftop lounge. The pictures are still on your friend's Instagram." Gasps erupted. My mom covered her mouth. My dad sank deeper into his chair. My sister looked like her world had caved in. But the worst part? She still thought this was all I had. She still didn't know the final truth I'd been holding back. The one that would tear the last mask off her face. And I was about to say it. My sister's breaths turned shallow, her shoulders shaking as she backed away from me like I was holding a mirror she couldn't bear to look into. But she still tried, even now, to cling to denial. "Those pictures don't mean anything," she whispered. "You're twisting things. You always twist things." I tilted my head. "All right then. Let's talk about something I can't possibly twist." Every eye locked on me. My surgeon stayed silent beside me, his presence grounding the chaos. I leaned forward slightly. "The cane you ripped from my hand today? The one you mocked me for needing?" My sister blinked rapidly, confused for a moment, until recognition struck like lightning. I continued. "That cane wasn't optional. It wasn't symbolic. It wasn't for attention." My hands trembled just remembering the words he told me 3 weeks ago. Words I never planned to share. My surgeon warned me that if I fell again, even once, the fracture in my spine could shift. I swallowed hard. And if it shifted, I could lose mobility in my right leg. Permanently. The room froze. My sister's lips parted, but no sound emerged. I breathed in slowly, letting the moment settle, letting her feel the weight of what she'd done. "Today," I said quietly, "when you pulled that cane away, when you mocked me, when you made me fall." I looked directly at her. "You risked ending my life as I know it." My dad's face drained, turning ghostly. My mom covered her mouth, eyes wide with horror. But I wasn't finished. "Even after everything you did before, the stolen money, the abandoned surgery morning, I stayed silent." I paused. "But today you crossed the line from cruelty into danger." My sister's knees nearly buckled. And then I said the words that made her collapse into a chair. "After tonight, you won't be the golden child anymore." My sister's breath came out in ragged, uneven bursts as she collapsed into the chair behind her. For the first time in my life she looked small. Not because she was weak, but because the truth finally stripped her of every excuse she used to hide behind. My dad rose slowly, like gravity had doubled its pull on him. Is all this true?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. My sister didn't answer. She couldn't. Silence was its own confession. My surgeon stepped forward, speaking with the calm authority only truth can carry. "I've treated hundreds of patients. I've seen families fight, families break. But I've never seen someone survive what your daughter did and still walk into a room full of people who doubted her." My mom's eyes filled with tears. Not for me, but for the realization of what they had looked away from. What they let happen. I took a slow breath and finally stood. Pain stabbed up my spine, but I didn't flinch. Because this moment wasn't about pain. It was about clarity. I'm not here for apologies, I said softly. And I'm not here to humiliate anyone. I'm here because I finally understand something. They all watched me waiting, bracing. I didn't ask to be the strong one in this family. I didn't ask for surgeries, fractures, or sleepless nights. But I survived them anyway. And while I was fighting to stand, all of you were busy tearing me down. The chandelier's reflection shimmered on the floor like scattered pieces of a life I no longer needed to pick up. My sister finally whispered, "Marissa, I didn't mean." I raised a hand gently. "You meant every word. And that's okay. Because after tonight, I don't need your acceptance to feel whole." My surgeon placed my cane back into my hand with quiet respect. I turned to leave, not dramatically, not in anger, but with the steady calm of someone choosing themselves for the first time. At the door I looked back just once. My recovery starts tomorrow. My boundaries start tonight. No yelling. No revenge speech. Just truth and its weight settling where it belonged. I stepped outside into the cool night air. Finally free.